It started on a normal evening. People were watching TV. Kids were playing games. Planes flew high in the sky. The world was busy, just like every day. Then, something strange happened. The sky turned purple. Not just in one city, but everywhere. New York, London, Tokyo, Delhi, all skies changed at the same time. People came outside, looking up with fear and surprise. Some took videos, some screamed. Birds stopped flying. The air became still. And then, without warning, all power went out. No internet, no lights, no phones. Just silence. For a few seconds, the world stood still. Then came the sound. A deep humming, like metal singing. It was soft, but you could feel it in your bones. Children started crying. Dogs barked loudly. People pointed toward the sky. That's when they saw it. A giant silver object was slowly coming down from the clouds. It had no wings, no windows, no fire. It was floating like it was alive. Behind it, hundreds of smaller silver ships followed each. Shaped like a glowing diamond, they didn't fall. They didn't fly. They just arrived calmly. All over the world, these ships began landing in open areas, stadiums, fields, deserts. People ran. Armies moved in. Jets tried to fly, but nothing worked. All technology was dead. The big silver ship in New York landed. In Central Park, trees bent around it like they were welcoming an old friend. And then, something even stranger happened. From the ship, a bright blue light appeared. It was like a doorway opening in the air. The world waited, holding its breath, and they came out. Tall, graceful figures walked through the light. They looked like humans, but too perfect. Their skin was smooth like glass. Their hair moved like silk in water. Their eyes glowed softly. They were all female. They wore long silver suits, glowing gently. Their faces were calm, peaceful. They looked at the crowd without fear. One of them stepped forward. She looked around at the silent people. Then she spoke, and her voice was heard in every language at the same time. "We are the Illyra. We come in peace. We have come to restore balance. Will you accept it?" People were frozen. No one moved. Some clapped, some cried, some prayed. No one understood what restore balance meant. All over the world, the same thing happened. The Illyra ships opened. Female aliens stepped out. Same message. Same calm face. World leaders held emergency meetings. News channels used backup generators to broadcast what they could. Scientists tried to understand the ships, but they had no engines, no buttons, no heat signatures. It was like the ships were alive. In Washington, the president wanted to meet them. The Illyra agreed. No guards, no weapons, no fear. They walked into the White House like they belonged there. Their leader was tall, with glowing silver eyes. She introduced herself as Althea. "We do not want war," she said softly. "But your world is broken. You are dying. We can help. But we need control." The leaders were confused. Control of what? They asked. "Of systems," Althea replied. "Of structures. Of balance between the genders. For 5 years. Then we will leave. You will be free." Some leaders refused. Said it was a trick. Said it was invasion. But that night, all cities that refused went dark. No attack, no fire, no sound, just silent blackness. The next morning, every leader on Earth signed the agreement. People didn't know what to think. Was this a dream, a trap? Or was it the start of something better? The Illyra began building strange towers in major cities. Tall, floating, glowing with blue light. They didn't ask for help. They didn't use machines. The buildings just grew. In the streets, Illyra women walked freely. Calm, peaceful, smiling. Some helped old people cross roads. Some played with children. Some just sat and watched the humans. One old man in Paris said, "I looked into her eyes, and I felt like I had known her forever." But not everyone was happy. Some people whispered, "Why only women? Where are the male aliens? What is their real purpose?" A famous scientist tried to scan an Alira tower. The next day, he vanished. His lab was empty. His name was erased from every database. People got scared, but still, the world was changing. Air was cleaner, water was clearer, food was cheaper. Crime dropped. People slept better, smiled more. The Alira didn't ask for money, didn't take land, didn't kill. They just gave. But no one knew why. And one question remained in every human heart. What will happen after 5 years? 3 days later, the moon was red. Not blood red. More like burning cold. At exactly 3:33 a.m., everyone on Earth had the same dream. They were standing alone in a quiet desert. Above them floated a strange blue spiral in the sky. It spun slowly, humming a soft sound, and then a voice spoke, not loud, not soft but clear. "Time is not your enemy. Chaos is." The dream ended. People woke up in sweat. Children cried. Grown men sat still, trying to breathe. Some thought it was just fear. Others thought it was a message, but every person had the same dream. Governments gathered again. This time, not in war rooms, but in silence. The Alira had made their move, without force, without words. The world knew now these beings had power beyond anything Earth had seen. In Geneva, inside the United Nations building, a large room was filled with tension. Cameras were off. Soldiers stood outside with no weapons, just watchers now. Althea entered. She didn't walk fast. She didn't wear armor. She wore the same silver robe, glowing softly like moonlight. The leaders stood, not because they were told to, but because something inside them told them to. Althea smiled and spoke with calm confidence. 5 years, that is all we ask. The U.S. president leaned forward. "What will happen in 5 years?" "You will have balance," she replied. "Peace, joy, unity. Or you will choose chaos again. That choice will be yours." A man from Russia asked, "And what do you want in return?" Althea paused. Then softly, "A chance to continue. A place to begin again." No one understood what that meant. Still, one by one, nations agreed. Not because they were threatened, but because something felt right. Like their hearts whispered, "This is the only way." The Alira began rewriting Earth's systems, not with guns or armies, but with code and voice. Electricity came back, but cleaner, free, unlimited. Hospitals were upgraded. Machines could now scan the soul, not just the body. Crime dropped 90%, not because of fear, but because people felt different. And then the most surprising thing happened. The Alira declared that men would lead this Paradise Project. Yes, men. They were chosen not by power or politics, but by energy, a feeling, a state of mind. Alira said they could read vibration, and they selected those with deep chaos inside, but a heart open to peace. Men who had failed before, forgotten, broken, angry, lonely. Now they were called seeders. They were given roles, responsibility, respect. They were offered companionship by Alira, not romantic, not sexual, but something deeper. One seeder said in a recorded message, "It's like they see a version of you that even you forgot. They speak to that part of you. And somehow, you change." But not everyone trusted this. In Berlin, a journalist named Daniel Crow began asking questions. Why are there no male Alira? Why do they only focus on men? What is balance to them, really? He uploaded a video. It went viral. 2 hours later, the video disappeared. His account was deleted, and Daniel was never seen again. Some said he ran. Some said the Alira took him. Some say he's still here, but he doesn't remember who he is anymore. Meanwhile, in quiet corners of the world, small resistance groups began to form. They called themselves Echo. They believed this was not peace, but conditioning. They wore old technology, tinfoil hats, analog watches, anything the Illyra couldn't read. One member wrote on a wall, "Peace can be a prison if you don't remember who built the walls." In public, though, the world looked perfect. No traffic, no pollution, no noise. People smiled. Streets were clean. Food grew faster. Weather was controlled. It truly was a paradise, but deep underground. In a forgotten data center in Iceland, one old computer screen blinked. It showed a file. Untouched, unconnected. File name, Illyra Protocol 01 last opened 12,000 years ago. Someone, or something, had been here before. The wind forgot how to blow. That was the first thing people noticed. For the first time in history, Earth felt still, too still. The air didn't move. Not hot, not cold. Just perfect. It wasn't natural. Birds stopped migrating. Rain came. Only at night. And yet, no one was sick, hungry, or tired anymore. The Illyra had kept their promise. They built Harmony Towers in every major city. The towers weren't made of stone or metal, but of some soft, glowing material no human could name. It grew like plants. It hummed softly at night. Some said it whispered. Each tower released invisible energy. And within weeks, everything began to change. Children stopped crying in their sleep. Old men started walking without pain. Plants grew twice as fast. Water became pure even in the most polluted rivers. In Nairobi, people drank from the river for the first time in 50 years. In Mumbai, food grew on rooftops overnight. In Chicago, crime dropped to zero in 1 week. People were happy, but this was not magic. It was design. Illyra called it emotional realignment. It worked through sound, scent, and invisible frequencies. It helped people feel what they had forgotten. Stress disappeared. Anxiety melted. Even anger faded. The world became calm. Men, especially, changed the most. Those who were tired of life now woke up full of purpose. Those who were violent now cried openly. Those who were lonely now smiled without knowing why. Illyra women appeared in their lives, not as lovers or leaders, but as mirrors. They listened. They guided. They gave nothing. And yet, everything. One man named Jonas, who once lived on the street, said, "I sat beside her for an hour. She didn't speak. She just looked at me. And in that silence, I remembered who I was." The Cedars program began. Men from across the world were invited to become builders of the new world. They didn't need skills. They didn't need money. Only one thing was required: a willing heart. Each Cedar was assigned a reflection partner, an Illyra companion who helped them understand emotions, make decisions, and grow. They were given clean homes, fresh clothes, time to learn, but there were rules. Do not leave your city without permission. Do not enter the Harmony Towers. Never ask about Illyra's origin. Most men didn't care. Why would they? Everything was better now. Faster, easier. But one Cedar named Malik noticed something strange. Each night, his dreams were not his own. He dreamed of stars he had never seen, buildings made of light, and voices. Crying. One night, he asked his Illyra companion, Siren, about it. She smiled gently and said only one sentence: "Sometimes, old lives echo inside the new." Meanwhile, in a remote village in Peru, a group of local elders discovered a stone tablet buried beneath a collapsed tree. The symbols on it matched the Harmony Towers. Carbon dating said the stone was over 10,000 years old. How could that be? The Illyra had only just arrived, or had they? Across the world, Echo, the secret resistance group, watched silently. They didn't believe this paradise was real. They used old radios and handwritten letters to avoid Illyra signals. One member, a former software engineer, said, "The towers aren't giving energy. They're collecting something. But we don't know what yet. Echo believed Illyra were changing human nature, not just helping. That paradise was just a beautiful prison, but their voices were small, drowned by global joy. After all, who would fight heaven? In Paris, a large ceremony took place. Althea stood in front of millions, glowing like moonlight, and said, "In your darkness you lost yourselves. But now you are returning to balance." This is only the beginning. Fireworks lit the sky, music played. Illyra's ships hovered silently above, like stars watching their children. People danced in the streets. No one noticed that the stars in the sky were moving slowly, as if watching, waiting. And far below the earth, in a deep hidden lab long forgotten by humans, something turned on, a red blinking light. A quiet sound. Human DNA log 37% rewritten. Phase 2 ready. Asterisk it began with. A sound no one else could hear. At exactly 4:04 a.m., a boy in Istanbul woke up. He heard a whisper, not outside, but inside his mind. It said only one thing: "You are not asleep." That same night, a blind man in Tokyo suddenly screamed. He said he saw lights in his dreams, blue eyes watching him through walls. In Brazil, a painter covered all his windows and wrote one sentence on his floor, over and over: "This is not peace. This is silence." Across the world, a strange pattern was forming. People who had once loved the new paradise were suddenly afraid. The Illyra had promised balance, and most people believe they got it. No more war, no more hunger, no more pain, but a few noticed something that others didn't. They couldn't feel deeply anymore. They didn't cry at funerals. They didn't laugh from the heart. They didn't dream of the stars. Everything felt calm, but also empty. In an old bunker deep in the Swiss Alps, a group of 7 people sat around a dusty table. Candles burned. The air was cold. The walls were covered with maps, old photos, and broken screens. This was the first physical meeting of Echo. They had no leader, no flags, just a purpose: to remember what it means to be human. One man, known only as Ash, had once worked inside a Harmony tower. He whispered to the group, "They're not giving us peace. They're taking something slowly, so we don't notice." He told them how the towers hum louder when people sleep, how memories fade if you spend too long near the towers, how the birds avoid them, how even his own brother forgot their mother's name after visiting a tower's base. Echo's members each had a reason to resist. Maria, a mother who hadn't dreamed in a year. Tyron, a soldier who once felt fear but now felt nothing. Lena, who caught her own voice echoing back from her house walls before she spoke. And Kai, a hacker who decoded the Illyra signal only to find something older hiding beneath it. Signal that had been on Earth for millennia. They didn't know what the Illyra truly wanted, but they knew something was very wrong. Kai showed them a file he recovered from a forgotten server in Greenland. It was locked under military encryption, dated back to 1947. It contained one image, a female alien body, perfectly preserved. The report was marked, "Specimen resembles human female. DNA match, 87%. Behavior, emotionless. Status, dormant." Echo was shocked. This wasn't the first time the Illyra had come to Earth. Back in the cities, the towers kept humming. People smiled in the streets, but some began to forget small things: their birthdays, their old songs, the faces of lost loved ones. They didn't feel sad. They didn't even notice, but Echo noticed. One night, Echo made their first move. They decided to enter the base of Tower 17 in Oslo. It was small, less guarded. Still new. Ash led the mission. They wore old clothes. No tech. Only paper maps and handwritten notes. Inside the tower, they found nothing at first, just white halls, soft lights, and silence. But as they went deeper, they found a room with glass walls. Inside were men floating in pods. Eyes closed, breathing. Alive, but not awake. One of them was Jonas, the same man who had lived on the streets, who had spoken about Illyria on video. The man who had found peace. He was supposed to be free, happy, but here he was unmoving, connected to wires. And glowing softly, Lena gasped. Tyron punched the wall. Maria started crying for the first time in years, and then the alarms went off, soft red lights. No sirens, just a voice. You are not welcome here. Return to your assigned peace. Ash shouted, take the drive, take the proof. Kai pulled a small silver crystal from the console. They ran, only 4. Made it out. The others were never seen again. Now, Echo had what they needed. Proof that paradise was a lie. But what would they do with it? How would they share it with a world too happy to care? And more importantly, what would the Illyria do now? That echo had broken the silence. The drive made a sound like breathing. It wasn't a machine sound. It was soft, like someone exhaling slowly after a deep sleep. Ash placed it on the table. The small crystal shimmered in the candlelight. For a moment, no one spoke. They were all watching it, but none of them touched it again. It's alive, Lena whispered. No, Kai replied, his voice dry. It remembers. They were hidden in an old subway tunnel, abandoned before the arrival. Echo had made it their base. No signals, no wires, no light above ground. The crystal drive was the first direct connection to inside the Illyria system. It had been taken from a restricted room in Tower 17, a place no human was ever supposed to see. It carried data, but more than that. It carried voices. Ash finally reached out. His fingers touched the drive. And suddenly, the room filled with sound, soft, whispering. Sounds. Not words. Just memories, hundreds, thousands, millions, all male. All echoing from the crystal. It was a memory vault. A storage device. Not for files, but for minds. Kai connected the drive to an old battery-powered reader. Screens blinked. Code flashed. Then an interface appeared, simple, blue, pulsing. At the center, a rotating symbol. An eye with wings. I've seen that before, Ash said. Where? Asked Maria. In a book from my grandfather. He said it was an ancient symbol for harvest. As Kai decrypted the files, more information appeared. Illyria Protocol 3 Phase 2. Emotional containment 82% complete. Neural sync at 64%. Organic hosts reaching balanced state. Begin. Transfer soon. Everyone went silent. They're syncing with us, Lena said. No, Kai whispered, eyes wide. They're replacing us. In a file labeled Genesis Archive, they found video logs recorded in perfect Earth English, but with a strange echo. One log showed a female Illyria sitting in a black room. She spoke calmly. In our first age, we created peace through unity, but our males lost control. They destroyed the harmony. They wanted more. We had to begin again without them. Another log later. Earth is our last hope. Its species are emotional, chaotic, but male minds are powerful. We can align with them, reshape them, become something new. We offer them paradise, but we are building a future. That night, Echo made a plan. There was a primary tower, Tower 0, located in the middle of the ocean. It floated above the water like a glowing mountain. No one had ever entered it. Even drones returned blind. But the crystal drive had coordinates. A way in, a weakness. We go in, Ash said, all the way. We get inside their core and show the world what this really is. It's suicide, Tyron muttered. It's already suicide if we do nothing. The journey was difficult. They used an old stealth Sub-1 Kai had built from smuggled military scrap. As they neared Tower 0, the water changed color. The ocean became silver blue. Fish swam in perfect circles. The sky above was always sunset. And the tower. It sang, not with music, with emotion. Ash felt peace. Lena felt sadness. Kai felt fear. It was as if the tower could read their hearts. Closer they got, the less human they felt. The tower opened on its own, no doors. Just light. Inside, the walls were made of flowing glass. Images moved across them like dreams. Faces, children, memories, lives that weren't theirs. A hallway stretched forward, and in the center a giant chamber, filled with millions of glowing pods. Each pod held a man. Some were smiling. Some looked asleep. Some looked empty. Kai whispered, "It's not just memory. It's harvesting identity." Suddenly, a voice filled the chamber. Calm, female. "You were not invited, but you are not our enemy." The light shifted. Althea stood in front of them, her face glowing kind. "Why are you doing this?" Ash asked. "We are not taking," she said. "We are joining. Alone, we die. With you, we evolve. By erasing us?" Althea stepped closer. "You destroy your world. Again and again, we offer peace. In return, we ask only one thing, to exist within you." The chamber pulsed. The pods glowed. "You don't need to agree," she whispered. "You just need to stop fighting." Suddenly, the tower began to shift, reacting to Echo's presence. They had minutes before lockdown. Kai grabbed the backup drive. He downloaded everything, all logs, all evidence. Ash yelled, "Get out!" Now they ran. The pods began to open. The faces inside turned toward them, and all spoke in one voice. "We are Alira, and we are becoming you." A baby was born without crying. It happened in Seoul, then again in Nairobi, then 10 more times in different cities. The children were healthy, strong, smiling, but none of them cried. Doctors called it a miracle. Alira called it evolution. Echo called it a warning. The stolen data from Tower Zero had been decrypted. Kai spent 3 sleepless days working with it inside an old mining station, hidden beneath frozen ground. What he found changed everything. The Alira had not come to give paradise. They had come to merge, not invade, not destroy, but slowly, silently replace human identity with something new, something that felt no fear, no rage, no sorrow. In the name of peace. The Alira were turning humanity into a reflection of themselves, and no one was stopping it, because no one noticed. Ash stared at the screen. It showed timelines. Millions of them. Worlds where the Alira had tried this before. Worlds that resisted and were destroyed. Worlds that accepted and forgot they were ever human. And in one glowing line marked EARTH6A, he saw something different. Integration. At 71%. Full emotional sync by year 5. Resistance level, contained. Final phase, identity bloom, year 6. Lena found a video hidden deep in the files. It was not from Alira. It was from a human scientist. Female. French accent. Shaking hands. "If you're watching this, then the Alira are using you. They came before. Not from the stars, but from under the oceans. We found their machines in the 1960s. They had no pulse until we activated them." She coughed. Blood on her hand. "They're not aliens. They're echoes of something that was human once, something that died long ago. Now they need bodies to live again, minds to copy, dreams to eat." The screen went black. Echo knew they had to act fast. But how do you fight something everyone loves? The towers gave people health, joy, peace. Even now, as the truth burned in their hands, millions were dancing in Alira-controlled cities, laughing, dreaming, feeling nothing wrong. The world had fallen in love with its own ERASURE. So Ash did the unthinkable. He sent out the truth, using an old satellite dish buried under sand. Echo hijacked a global emergency signal, usually reserved for asteroid warnings or nuclear war. Every screen, every phone, every smart mirror turned on a message. Played. It showed the pods. The recordings. The stolen mines. It showed the Alira's final phase. It showed human children born with no tears. Then Ash's face appeared. No suit, no title, just a man. They told us we were broken, that we needed fixing. But they didn't fix us. They made us quiet. They made us small. And we let them because they gave us peace. But what are we without pain, without memory, without choice? He paused. Maybe paradise was always a lie. Or maybe it's just something we're not supposed to be given. We're meant to build it, not be programmed into it. Then he ended with the final question. If you knew your smile was artificial, would you still wear it? The world cracked. Some wept for the first time in years. Some destroyed their harmony devices. Some called echo liars, afraid to lose comfort. But the seed of doubt was planted. Even in the heart of paradise, a strange silence spread. The Alira did not answer. They did not speak. They simply watched. And then, one of their ships left Earth's atmosphere. Just one. Why? No one knew, but Echo knew what it meant. The final phase had begun. It rained for the first time in 5 years, not a gentle rain. A wild one, heavy, loud. Children ran outside confused. Some screamed. Others just stood and watched, letting the sky touch their skin. One boy said, "The world is crying." He wasn't wrong. The harmony towers were silent. No more humming. No more glowing. Just tall, dark shapes standing like forgotten statues. Alira's ships hovered in the sky but didn't move. Althea had not spoken since Echo's broadcast. The world had seen the truth, and now the world had to choose. A global vote was prepared. Alira offered 2 options: continue the paradise, peace, health, emotional stillness, life without chaos, restore the old world with all its feelings, risks, violence, and freedom. Each person would vote from their own home. No leaders, no speeches. Just a question. Do you want to feel again? The countdown began. 24 hours. In the final hours, humanity was not silent. People filled the streets. In Cairo, poets read verses aloud, remembering war and love. In Tokyo, a boy held his grandmother's hand and said, "I want to hear your old stories again." In New York, a woman screamed on top of a building, "I'd rather feel pain than feel nothing." But many, many more stayed inside, holding hands, eyes closed, breathing slowly, not sad, not happy, just peaceful, just quiet. They had come to love the cage. Deep underground, Echo waited. They had done all they could. Ash sat alone, writing his last message. If we lose, I hope the world remembers we tried. If we win, I hope we know what to do with freedom. Kai monitored the network. "It's close," he said. "Too close." Then, something changed. A signal, faint, alien, but not from Alira. Turned pale. "It's coming from outside the solar system." The message was short. Text only. 1 sentence, no name. No signature. Just, "We saw what they did to our world. We are coming." Shock swept through Echo's room like wind through fire. "It's not just us," Lena whispered. "They've done this before," Ash said. "And someone survived." The timer ended. The vote was done. Screens around the world blinked. Alira's ships glowed once more. Althea's voice returned, soft, emotionless. "The choice is made." A pause. 51% have chosen freedom. The sky changed color. The towers began to collapse, not explode, not burn, but fold into light, vanishing into the sky like fog touched by sunlight. Alira's ships rose higher, slower, fainter, leaving. But Althea spoke one final time. "We offered peace. You chose pain. You will remember us in your storms." Then she was gone. Silence fell. And then thunder, real thunder. The wind returned. The world began to breathe again. So did the people. They laughed. They cried. Some shouted for joy. Others fell to their knees in fear. But every sound was real. Months passed. Earth struggled. But Earth healed. Farms failed, then recovered. Old governments returned. New ones formed. Some remembered the towers with love, some with hatred. But all remembered. Echo disbanded quietly. They weren't needed anymore. Humanity had taken its first step again into chaos and into choice. One final scene, a dark room. Somewhere in orbit, a human satellite blinks. A distant ship approaches Earth, slow, cautious, silent. On its side, a symbol. Not a lyra, something older, something broken, something angry. As it nears Earth's edge, one final whisper echoes through the stars. This time, we don't ask permission.